All right, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to your KITS Webinar Wednesday. My name is Franklin, and I'm the Product App Specialist for KITS and your webinar host. So I've had turkey on my mind the last couple of days here celebrating Canadian Thanksgiving, so it's good to be back bringing you webinars to help you along the way to becoming that supercharged power user. So we understand that we work with users at all different levels. Now, some who have had personal training with me and some without. So today what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to share your project with team members and with your clients. Now, this easy and simple communication feature can really make the difference when closing that sale. So Julia, what's on schedule for today's webinar?
All right, so let's quickly go over today's agenda. We're going to be going over the best practices when working with your team. We're going to do a quick overview of the AutoCAD import option that we have available to you. Also, you can share your project and accept shared projects. We're going to be going over communicating with your client, which is also really important with kits. This involves that item Quicksheet, also high-quality renderings, the different options you have available and how long that's going to take you, and also your project Quicksheet where you can cover pricing and you can add a lot more details for your client when you're ready to share the final presentation. Those are the quick things that we're going to be covering in today's webinar. Now for the opportunity, as always, we like to give you a quick opportunity for each webinar to set up the stage. So Franklin is now finished working on the project that we've been doing for the past couple weeks, and he needs to share that project with his team members and also, most importantly, the client. So I'll let him continue with the webinar.
All right, so the first thing we want to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up the project that we did the last couple of weeks. So I'm now finished with this project, and what I need to do is I need to share it with my design and sales team. This really can reflect basically how each user uses kits differently, especially when it comes to communicating the project. We all know that we may work with a larger team. You may have to send this out to a design team, which we covered last week, or you may have to send this out to other sales members that are part of your team. Could be some support staff, or it could be someone that is going to validate your project and give the confirmation. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I revise the names to make sense for this particular project. So I'm just going to quickly open it up. And you can see here what we've done is we have two different layouts. We have the very first layout which we created, and then we have the revised layout which included some additional storage in the casual meeting area. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the first project. So here we have the project. We have our touchdown space as well as the casual meeting space. I still have those awesome KOE catalog items in here, really giving a sense of space to the actual project, giving it that additional feel, which we always try to make sure that our client understands. But what I want to do here is I need to actually make sure that I distinguish between the two. Now this sounds like a very obvious thing to do, but this is such an easy thing to skip over. So what I like to do is use common naming conventions within my team for all projects. And here what I like to do is I like to indicate the client, which I'm going to use XYZ today, the project, which is the KISP office, and I'm also going to date it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the actual project name to reflect that naming convention. So I like to say XYZ. Now another thing that you may want to also include is using underscores instead of spacing. Now the reason why you want to use underscores is some additional programs that you may actually bring this into may have some issue with the spaces or any kind of characters that you use. So using an underscore for your spacing is actually a safe rule to use whenever you're creating any kind of naming or any kind of name or any kind of project file that you need to share. All right. So here we're saying XYZ. I know it's going to be for the KISP office. And again, I'm going to use another underscore. And since I know it's a touchdown space, I'm just going to put T.DWN. And I'm going to say 1 because this is layout 1. And then underscore. And then, I'll just use today's date, which is 10/12/16. Okay, so you can see the kind of naming convention I'm using here. It describes the client, it describes the project, it describes the particular space in the project, as well as dates it. So this way, whenever I share it to my design team, especially if this is a multi-layout project that I'm working on, they can actually track it based on the actual client, the project, what particular part of the project that you're working on, and the date it was created. Okay, so this is actually a surefire way to making sure that your naming convention works and is easily communicated through the entire team. All right, so once that's created, here's my project. Another thing that you can do is, especially if you're not sending this out to your clients, this is something that you want to share with your team members. You may want to eliminate some of these KOE catalog items just for the actual share. So what I like to do here is first save the project, and then I'm going to go ahead and tap and hold so I can create a copy of the project. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start working with the copy project. Okay, so here's the copy. And then now I'm going to go into my list view. I'm going to single out the catalogs to only looking at the KOE catalogs. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start selecting all these items that I need to delete from this particular file. And the reason why it didn't do it in the main file is because I actually want to keep that, and it's easier to create a copy than to delete an original and then add all the items up again. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this. And let's go back to all catalogs, and let's go back to 3D view. Oh, it looks like there was some issue, and if there is, you can always go back. So it looks like I have some items that are grouped. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I ungroup the project first. And now again, we're going to have to repeat those same steps, going back into the KOE catalog. Okay, those items are all selected. Now let's go into, just want to make sure that I deselect any items that were part of that selection. Okay, we want to keep the bottle. So this is a good way to validate that you're selected on all the items that you need to include in this selection. As you can see, I'm using this list view to looking at all the items that are currently highlighted, which I highlighted earlier, so that I know that those are only the items that I'm going to remove. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and now remove. I'm going to turn off the select feature. Let's go back to 3D view, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so the reason, again, why I'm actually sending this out is because this is actually a file that I'm going to share with my internal team. So last week we covered how to communicate your project to your design team. What you can do is you can actually go to our KITS Knowledge Center, and we do have that webinar that has been pre-recorded for you to follow. So in case you want to know how to export an AutoCAD file and also import it back into KITS, that's a great way of learning how to share the file as well as to accept the file that's now been shared by your design team. All right, so you might want to go back to the Knowledge Center, and if you have any more questions about that, what you can also do is you can contact Julia or myself for that matter, and we can help you go through the process. Okay, so here I have everything actually saved. Now the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I adjust this name here because it says copy. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the project here, and I'm going to continue on with the webinar. All right. So we can easily go ahead and create some renderings of this, but again, this is just something that I want to share with my my design team. So I'm going to tap on the share icon, and you can see here what we have is basically. Just bear with me one moment here. It looks like we have a little bit of a lag. Okay, let me do that again. So I tapped on the share icon, and there we have it. So there you can see we have the Export AutoCAD function, which I just mentioned. You can actually go to our Knowledge Center and follow that pre-recorded webinar. And then the other thing here that's important to use is the share project, which is how we're going to communicate this project out to our design to our team. Okay, so you can share this project to your sales team. Now, this only works if the actual person receiving the project also has a valid KITS license. All right, so we can simply tap on Share Project. It's going to ask us to save. Just going to quickly save it. And here you're going to have to add the recipient's email address. Now, this is actually a good tip for you to know. If you have more than one person that you need to share this project with. Let's say it's a support team. Let's say it's additional sales members that you need to share this project with, and these are most commonly the same people that you share your kids' projects with through every project that you work on. What you can actually do is you can have these names or these email addresses predefined in your iPad notes, as I did here. So here, for example, what I did was I created a note for a kit sales team as well as a kits design team. Okay, so all you need to simply do is double tap anywhere in your notes box. I'm just going to do a select all, and then I'm just going to move that little tab at the top left here so that I'm only on the email addresses. Oh, let me do that one more time. Okay, I got big fingers, so sometimes it's a little bit hard for me to select those little dots. So here we go. I have the email addresses selected. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simply do a copy. Now I'm going to go back into Kits, and I'm going to paste it here in the recipient's email address box. Okay. Now just remember, when you actually create this note, you need to use commas in between each email address as opposed to semicolons. Okay. And another reason why you want to do that is because Kits actually doesn't keep a history of the email addresses that you commonly use. So you'll have to retype this all the time. And believe you me, when you're working on a larger project and you have, let's say, about 6 or 7 people that you need to email this out to, it gets quite tedious having to type in each email address. So it's better to actually keep it as an iPad note so that you can always refer back to it, and then you can always paste it in. All right? Then you can add any additional notes. It's always good to explain exactly what's happening here. Here we can say KISP Office Layout 1, and you can explain something further. But the reason why you want to make sure that you add some kind of notes here is, especially if you're sending this out and it's a multi-layout project, you want to make sure that you have all clear information going out to your design team, just as you would want to have clear communication going out to a client. Okay? So once that's filled out and you're satisfied, you can go ahead and tap on Share. And what that begins to do is it begins to send out this email out to those recipients. Okay? So again, it's always best to make sure that you have that in your notes. And once that email is sent out, let's just say it's somebody sharing the project with you so that you can actually get the project on your iPad. What you'll need to do is you'll need to go to your email client server or your email client. You're going to have to open it up. And I'm just going to move this out of the way. And you're going to have to find that email. Sometimes, oh, there it is, just popped up. So you can see here the email that's been sent out. This is the same generic email that anybody will get, but here it's asking me to now accept the shared project. What I need to do is click on this link. And as soon as I click on this link to accept that share, I'll have to go back to Kits. Just bear with me one moment here. I'll have to go back to Kits, and in case the notification doesn't actually appear, you'll see that the notification will appear after you tap on Sync. Okay, so that will indicate that you have a shared project or a subscribed catalog, anything, any kind of note that you have that's ready to sync down. Once you actually tap on the notification bell, you can go ahead and tap on Sync now, and that will now bring down that project down to your iPad. Okay, so that's how you can easily send that project out to your team members, as well as accept any project that's also from your team members. And just again, to go through the same practice as we did again, here's the actual second layout that we created. So as you can see, it's quite different because we have this lovely storage area. And so for this matter, because it's an additional layout, again, what I'd like to do is use that same naming convention, which is XYZ underscore KISP underscore T dot down. This time it's layout 2, so I'm going to add that 2. And again, a date timestamp of when it was created. Okay, so you can now see here, I'm just going to quickly save that. Again, I can follow the same steps and send it out to my client, but you can now see how I have it all listed here. All right, so that's how you can quickly share that project out with your design team. Now, another thing that, of course, is important is now also communicating this project with your client. So here we have several ways of communicating with your client through kits. You can create an item quick sheet, you can create a rendering and also send that out, and then you could also create a project quick sheet. Okay, and what are these quick sheets? So an item quick sheet is pretty much like an item cut sheet. So it'll send some information about a particular item from a manufacturer. Let's go ahead and use this lovely chair here. Okay, so here's the Magnus Olson chair. What I want to do is tap on Quick Sheet at the very bottom, and it looks like we just have a little bit of a lag. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on Quick Sheet. There's a generic PDF that it's going to create. It's going to include a nice image of the chair. It's also going to include pricing. Now, sorry, I'm just going to go back 1 second. In case you don't know this, if you place 2 fingers on the actual graphic in the Edit menu, you can actually rotate that image. Okay, this is a great way to validate the item before you bring it in, but this is also a great way to displaying how you want the client to see this particular item. All right, I can tell you some manufacturers have their symbols facing backwards. Right, in case it is, you can easily rotate it. So you can now position it the way you want your client to see that particular item. If I go to Quick Sheet, you can now see that that image now reflects where I left the position of that chair. All right. So here we have a few options. I can turn on the model number. I can turn on options and finishes. I can show product details. Then I have pricing, and then here you can see that I have also a discount that's been included. Now, the reason why the discount has been automatically set is because we've already made the change at the item level, where you can see at the list less, where it says list less 35%. That is an indicator that we've now made a pricing augmentation to this particular item, okay, at the item level. Right? So we can include that. If you don't want to include that, or if you don't want to include any of these details, all you need to do is simply turn off that switch. Okay? So this is a great way to protecting your bid and giving whatever information you need to your client. Now again, that's the PDF that's created. And if I needed to add any additional note for any particular reason, I can turn on my note switch. Then I'm going to have to tap in the empty box below it and enter the note that I want to send. Okay, there's my note. There it appears on my PDF quick sheet. At the bottom, you should have your credentials, as well as the dealership logo in the middle, and the manufacturer logo on the right-hand side. All right, and when you're satisfied with that, you can easily print it if you're connected to an air printer, or you have a PDF app connected to your iPad, or you can tap on Send. This is where you're going to have to be connected to the internet in case you're out client-facing. You don't necessarily have to be connected to a strong and stable Wi-Fi. In this case, you can use your own personal Wi-Fi. Here, once you tap on Send, it creates the generic email, as you see here. There's the PDF quick sheet of the item that's at the bottom. I can add any comments by tapping in the comments area on the email body. I can add my comment there, and then just make sure that you have a recipient. All right? And then you can easily send that out. So that's actually sharing the project, sharing an item cut sheet or item quick sheet with your client. So the next common thing that we normally do is renderings. And you can easily create a rendering, again, by positioning your iPad or your layout to utilize the actual frame of the iPad. In this case, we have 2 particular areas that we need to capture. Now, we've already done these renderings, so if I tap on HD Render and I go to View Previous Renderings, you can see all the different renderings that I've created throughout this actual project. Here, if I want to send out touchdown space, I can actually show that image, and now I can tap on export, and now tap on email. And here again is the generic email that it creates. It actually tells me what the project is at the top in the subject line. That's why it's so important to make sure that you have a common naming convention. Because here I can tie in this project with the particular layout that I have. And then here's the lovely image that we're sending to our client. Okay, so that's how you can use the renderings to also communicate the project out with your client. And then lastly, what we want to do is we also want to create a project Quicksheet. Okay, now what is the project Quicksheet? It's basically the estimation that we can create using kits here based on the actual layout that we've created and all the manufacturer items that have been placed in that layout. All right, so again, I can go to list view. This is pretty much what you're actually sending the client, a nice line item list view of the project, which is also going to include a lovely rendering. Right? So we're going to go ahead and tap on the share icon. And this time we're going to go ahead and tap on Create Quicksheet. It's going to prompt you to save the file. Go ahead and save that. And you can now see here's the project. Okay? So again, there's the naming convention that I've created for this project. In case you don't need to actually show this client the particular naming convention that you use for your internal team, you can easily delete that, because we know that this is the client's office anyways, so I'm just going to put KISS Office here. And then we have the option of choosing your rendering. So here we can pick any of the renderings that you see. I'm going to go show them a plan view of the actual project, and that's what they're going to receive. Now, in case you never created, let's say, any kind of bulk pricing at the item level for this particular project, you do have the option of actually adding an additional discount here, which is a global discount for this project Quicksheet, which you can pretty much add anything you want. So let's just actually go through the actual steps. So first thing I want to do here is I'm going to remove all the discounts that I've added to this particular project. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on the radio button left of model. I'm going to go to configure prices. And now I'm going to change all the values down to 0. Okay. Let's just make that 0. And we're going to say none. We're going to apply. Okay. So what I've done is I've reverted this project back down to all list pricing. All right. So this is important. If you don't take the additional step to actually do a multi-item price or bulk pricing at the item level here in the list view. And again, if you need some tips about this, you can always visit our Knowledge Center. We do have a pre-recorded video on how to do this. Or what you can do is you can contact Julia, and she can send out a hot link for you to click on for you to preview that webinar as well. Okay, so here we have list pricing. What I want to do is I want to send a quick estimation out to my client. So again, I'm going to go back to my Create Quicksheet. This is creating the project Quicksheet. And I'm just going to repeat my steps here. We're going to call this the KISS Office. We're going to choose that plan view layout. And now I'm going to go ahead and tap on discount here. Okay, so I've turned that switch on, and you can see underneath the actual image, it actually indicates that there's a less discount. Right now it's at 0%. We have actually the configured list price of the particular project here as the total sell price. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that global discount. We're going to say 35%. Again, this is why it's a great tool to use, especially when you have to create quick budgetary terms or estimations for your client. You can add that 35% discount so they can get the value here. I can also add any custom cell line item like shipping and handling by adding that value, or for instance, we can go ahead and say installation charges. I'm going to tap on that 0. I'm going to say $1,000. Then I can add any notes here by tapping in the empty box below notes, and I'm just going to say this is an estimation for budgetary purposes. Okay, my note appears on the just below the image there, and the total sell price, and then I have the option to showing them all the items that have been listed in this particular project. And take note, you can tell, or you can see that there's no KOE element items here listed because the project quick sheet will recognize what the KOE elements are, and it'll suppress them so they don't show up in your quick sheets. Okay. And again, if you wanted to protect your bid, what you can do is you can turn off any value you want here. I'm going to turn off, well, basically there's no discounting here because we did a global discount. I'm going to turn off those thumbnails. I'm also going to turn off the options and finishes. So all the client is getting is just this particular list, which is going to give them a quick estimation at the top here. And once you're satisfied with that, again, you can send that to an air printer or PDF printer on your iPad, or you can tap on Send to utilize the default email on your iPad. And here is the template that it creates. Again, similar to the item cut sheet that I sent you there. It now has the project name where it says KISP Office. Also tells you that there's an attachment PDF file. Add the recipient, and you can go ahead and send that out to your client. That's pretty much it, everyone. So what we've done is we've now shown you the best practices to sharing your project out with your internal team as well as your client. All right. So you're now that much closer to becoming a supercharged power user and our next collaborator of the week.